Okay. Good morning, grade 11s. Today we're going to look at photosynthesis. Now, photosynthesis is the making of carbohydrates from carbon dioxide and water using radiant energy from the sun that is absorbed by chlorophyll. So, let's look at the equation. Carbon dioxide plus water plus radiant energy. Now, the radiant energy comes from the sun. Okay? It's also known as light energy. So, chlorophyll and enzymes work together to change the carbon dioxide and water with the radiant energy into glucose and oxygen. Goed. So, let's look at the raw materials that is needed for photosynthesis. So, it's carbon dioxide, water, radiant energy, chlorophyll, and enzymes. So, the carbon dioxide we get from the atmosphere. Water comes either from soil or dew, rain, and so on. Radiant energy comes from the sun, like I said, and then chlorophyll is in all green plants. Good, and enzymes are also in all the plants. Now, it gives us two products. The products are glucose and oxygen. So, the glucose is stored in the plants as starch, and the oxygen is released into the atmosphere. So, okay, it's the oxygen that you inhale daily. Okay, so photosynthesis is important because it keeps the oxygen concentration in the atmosphere and in water constant. It also keeps the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and water constant. It provides food for heterotrophic organisms. Heterotrophic organisms, remember, is organisms that cannot make its own food. It's organisms that eat autotrophic organisms so that they can have energy. So, photosynthesis also makes chemical energy available for cell functioning, and radiant energy is then trapped and transformed into chemical energy during photosynthesis so that it can be released during cellular respiration. Good. So now we're going to look at the adaptations of a chloroplast. Now, as you know, last year you studied the structure of a chloroplast. Now, this is a chloroplast. So, firstly, it has a double membrane, as you can see here. And the purpose is that the double membrane is permeable to water and carbon dioxide. It also then has a granum or a grana. All of these structures together are called a grana. One of them is called a granum. So, the grana contains chlorophyll that is used to trap sunlight. Okay, the grana is then made up of thin little discs, as you can see there, little discs, which is called a lamella. And they are there firstly to increase the surface area of a chloroplast, and inside the thylakoids there is tiny little chloroplasts, and they trap the sunlight. Good. So the stroma is there. There. Okay, it's the jelly-like layer on the inside of a chloroplast, and that is where dark phase takes place. So there's tiny little ribosomes in all the chloroplasts as well, and they are there to synthesize the enzymes. They make the enzymes for photosynthesis to take place. Then you'll see here's a little starch granule, and the starch granule or the starch grain is present to temporarily store starch.